just to be upfront with you. I sawed up a bunch of red oak yesterday on the saw, and that stinks. And the rain's coming in. So, just so you know, there are more flies in here than a Sally Struthers infomercial from 1986. Judo chop! All empires fail. All of them. Since the history of time and since the history of empires, not one of them has run the course. They might somewhat survive in some kind of watered down variation of what they once were, but they're never the same as when they were the chief, you know, the big dog on the totem pole. It is not every generation that gets to witness the fall of their empire. We are one of the lucky ones. There is a whole cacophony on the YouTubes and in the media of people that their whole job is to focus on the collapse of the empire. There's record deficits. They're doing this. They're sending money here. They can't even fund this and that and the other. And the Federal Reserve says this and that, and they're trying to fix it. Tons of voices. Your Ben Shapiro's and he's just an example. There's tons of them. Benny Johnson, Rush Limbaugh used to be one when he was alive. That's their whole thing. They lay out the facts and they explain why it's stupid, why it is wrong, why it is disastrous. I understand it and I follow it to a large degree because I like to know what my enemy is up to and what might be coming next. I get that. There are 3 great misconceptions that people make about their government that really should be done away with. 1 is that they are capable. 2 is that they are competent or wise. And 3 is that they are looking out for your best interest. The trouble with that is none of those things are true. Emergency, by definition, is a situation is emergent now. It's sudden. There is a problem, an issue that needs addressing. As far as my opinion, should be clear about that. The time for emergency reaction in this country was probably the early 1990s. You're fresh off the savings and loan scandal and the giant bailouts and the corruption of law. That's probably the last point where you could have stepped in and saved the system as things are run now and as they were designed. Some semblance of this constitutional republic. In my opinion, that was like the 11th and a half hour of righting the wrongs and righting the ship and getting us back onto the course where things could operate as they were designed. But what did they do? Well, numerous United States corporations, in particular Walmart, well, they started importing their goods from China. So you've capitalized now on basically near slave wages to keep your prices at home low and to keep your profits higher than a rocket. Well, this was against the law. It's in violation of the Trading with the Enemies Act of 1917. That law has never been repealed. Aiding and abetting communist countries. Well, what do you think it does when you're sending them your raw materials and paying them to assemble your goods? The Chinese Empire was built by the West and others, but primarily by the West. So this rise of communist China, and make no mistake, they're still communists. They still oppress their people. Well, that was funded by American corporations. And indirectly, the American people buying the cheap goods. We buy what's available. They hail President Nixon's good points, what few there were. And well, he opened up trade with China. Well, how did that work out for us? I think it's like 85% of our medication now comes from our sworn enemy, and we just keep poking, you know, keep riling it up. Most of our goods come from China. We made this monster. Maybe not you and I, but the United States government made this monster. Now, again, Not wise, not competent, not out for your best interest. The ship is sinking now, and it's just all about, self-preservation. What can I accumulate? And then when the switchover happens, how can I protect me and my family? I think we would all do well to maybe not be focusing so much on that aspect of it. We know they're doing wrong. We know they don't have our best interest at heart. Why not be focused on what we're going to do when things finally go south? Now, ultimately, I personally don't really care. I can say that having the benefit of a full belly. The trouble with that is when things really get hard and times really get hard and economies fail, very seldom does the general populace have a full belly. I also have children, 2 of them, that have to live in this world, hopefully long after I'm gone. So that is a concern. As a general rule, I'm not interested in your Bud Light noise. That is such a non-factor. The only element of that is somewhat significant is the ESG thing that they're so worried about chasing, because that part is what's coming next. You have to see ahead. You have to look down the road. That's the only element of that that even remotely interests me. The rest of it is, in my estimation, simply divide and conquer. Sidetrack. Look over there. Look, what are they doing over here? Now there is the element of what they're doing in the schools and corrupting the children. That's been going on for decades. It's just now they've gotten really aggressive with it. That's the only difference. At what point was it some stranger's responsibility to educate your children? It is the easiest thing in the world to farm out an important aspect of your life, and then you're busy. I understand that. You got other things to do, but nobody very seldom ever checks back on the part that was farmed out. And then we complain, and we wonder, well, how did this happen? Well, it happened gradually. Just like your government happened gradually. Why is it in this country that they won't accept God, but they'll invest those same type qualities, leadership, caring, looking after our best interests, they'll invest those kind of traits into a man or woman that they pop up in office? Well, so-and-so is going to fix it. We get Trump back in there and he'll fix it. I did a Donald Trump video. You can go back and watch that if you want, good and bad. The sad part of that is he's probably the best thing we've seen in the last, who knows how long, 40 years? I don't know. So when you start hearing these numbers of a $1.7 trillion annual budget, or $6 trillion pumped into the economy for the beer cough, or $31 trillion of national debt. Number one, that's not my debt. You spent the money. And number two, that's not payable. 1 trillion seconds ago was 31,688 years. $31 trillion isn't payable. I don't care how many bushes you beat trying to get the last nickel out of the online Etsy seller. It isn't doable. Why don't we focus on what we're going to do after the system collapses? Wouldn't it be more wise to put our focus on that rather than continuously complain about the next? I mean, yeah, they've gotten brazen about it. It's no different than the cops wearing the body cams. And you see these beatings and, I can't believe this. It's been going on for 60 plus years. It's just that you're just now seeing it. Now we have currently the benefit of technology where we can see these things unfold. We don't have to rely on some corporate-owned newspaper to tell us what's going on from their view, from their agenda. We don't have to rely on that. We have other sources. And mark my words, the internet, things like YouTube, will either be severely policed or just done away with when things really get bad. So wouldn't it be wiser to focus on what you're going to do at that time? We know it ain't working out in our favor, and it's not going to work out in our favor. Perhaps you'll get, I don't know, $1,200 check, while billions and trillions went somewhere. Is that all it takes to pacify us? The notion that you're somehow going to drain the swamp and clean house, and we need to vote in so-and-so to get this, it's laughable. It's not going to happen. The track record has shown us that. Wouldn't it be wiser to focus on how it is to be replaced? How you, on the individual level and on your local level, will continue to eat, will continue to access water, will have some barterable medium of exchange or currency. Those are the things I think that we should be focused on now. We know it's coming. There's no doubt left. Do we still need to continue with this business? Well, then they did that, and they sent another $30 billion, and then, you know it's coming. You know the fix is in. Wouldn't we be better served spending our time focusing on, okay, what next? What now? You will not fix the system as it is. And that's partially by design. What next? And how do we go about basic survival once the current system has failed? I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. You can leave them down in the comment section. Appreciate your time. We will see you next time. Judo chop!